people here. This is cool. So everything worked, but then all of a sudden, you've got all these people. Dang.
Darn.
Their lives are messy. So it's messy. And if you're really doing your mission, like you guys were starting with broken people, guess what? It will never not be messy. I've had people, maybe we talked about this yesterday, I can't remember. Too many head injuries. But if people are discipled all the way to what I've heard people say along the way, we're really going to measure things by how many people are giving and tithing. We better have 80% or 90%. And if that's not there, it means the church isn't healthy. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. If you have 100% of your people tithing, then your church is unhealthy. Because you've had these people who have been believers for however many long they've been believers, and you have no new people coming. So by nature of what we're doing, it's going to be disorganized, and we got to ride the roller coaster. Okay. That's me again. I'll go quicker, maybe. We call this the revolving staff roller coaster, or the staff roller coaster. Did I get that right?
Basically.
Okay. So Andy Stanley says, everybody leaves. We talked about that earlier.
Like on the front door.
Everybody leaves. So if you try to hang on to them, the apostles will feel pushed down and they will leave, and it'll look a lot like a church split, and it didn't have to be. They just had to go because they're called to go, and it might not even be their fault at all. Everybody leaves. They die, they move, nobody stays. We're not part of this church anymore. We left. God called us to another thing, but everybody leaves. And if you're going to be a greenhouse and a church planting church, guess what? They're going to leave a lot, and we know what we're doing, but I've had churches say to me, and I felt it too, it feels like a divorce because people are leaving and there's relationships that are broken, and you're intentionally doing this to a church. If you're doing it the best possible way you can do it, people are going to leave. And we sent out church planters where I stood at the U-Haul truck out of Shore Life. Some of the guys that came to faith in that ministry, they're now off to plant churches. Like, our dream is being fulfilled. This is happening. So why am I at the back of the U-Haul truck weeping? Because it went as good as it could possibly go, and it sucked. And at the same time, it was fantastic. So it's in the mix. It's going to revolve. It has to. But as Scripture says, there's a great reunion coming, so we got to keep that in the forefront if we're really going to be a sending church. But don't think that we're going to eliminate pain, because it doesn't happen. And it just hurts when they go away or do something like Eric shared with, where someone kind of turns on you. I've had those. That's painful, and I just don't know a way past that. Jesus felt it, right? Are you guys going to leave too? Where are we going to go, Lord? You speak words of life. And I think Jesus probably went, it feels good to have some guys still with me. Till the cross, of course, when all of them except John bolted, but they came back. You got this
In an
one.
established church, you often have what seems to be a stable budget based on a congregation that's giving. So the next one is financial, the financial roller coaster. In a church plant, you might have an incredible giving base, and you might have a great support structure behind you, and a great tithing core team, and everything could be very, very stable, great beginning. But just by the essence of a church being in process, you're going to have fluctuations. And then the feelings that I would have in terms of stability, my own security, the concern for the staff members, all that ends up kind of piling up here, with the leadership. And I found that surprising, because if you came from an established church, you may not even have been, in on what was going on financially. And all of a sudden now, wow, this is a big deal. I have people's lives in the balance, it feels like. So that can be very challenging. But it's very, very normal, because you're, in a sense, you're making a house, you're making a church. So it's not done yet. It's not stable. It just isn't. So that's normal.
I'm going to do 2 checklists.
You can do it.
Okay. Yeah, with that, we would talk about this a lot. And like this church here, it's just the 2 of us. We had some support, but when we're first starting out the church, I'm like, writing my own salary check, which feels like it should get me thrown in prison or something. But we opened the book. This is how it worked. And I show like my church planning supervisor. We got everything set. But at first, it's like, wow. But there's always two checkbooks. There's the church checkbook and our checkbook. And the temptation is, well, we need to get this thing going for the church. So if we can cut it off here, we can get that going. But if we cut it off here, you know what I'm saying? You feel that?
There's a tension.
There's a tension there. So my counsel, you might agree with me on it, but man, it's couples, figure that out and do what you can, and it's okay to take responsibility for your family and get that figured. And it's messy, but I think that's a pretty necessary thing. If the family is shortchanged all the time because the ministry needs to happen, you're lighting a fuse.
It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time. So anybody?
Yeah, well, there's enough issues, right, in ministry anyways, enough challenges that you don't need that to be added to. Let me just add to the list of why I should get out of ministry, because we're always at this point of struggle.
Yeah.
I'm tired of struggling. So
can I say a couple practical things on that? So early on, get advocates in the church. Get your church plant and get Micah of Alliance Northwest, whoever, to be your advocates, because you don't have elders yet. And if you have to come to that decision, you're going to go to your spouse and you're going to talk it over, and you both might decide to take the hit. But you want someone saying, no, you guys aren't going to take the hit. And yes, when we do a bonus thing and a cost of living raise, you're going to get one first along with the rest of your staff. We're going to make this decision with you and for you. So get the advocates out of the church and then at some point in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair? Okay. Is that depressing?
No,
okay.
It's just reality.
It's just reality. Okay, you want to do this number 6?
Yeah, connection.
All right, here we go.
Oftentimes in an established church, it can appear that everyone is connected, well connected, and you have a base of leaders and attenders, and it's just stable. That's why it's an established church.
That's the assimilation bad thing. It's also called the connection one. That's what we're doing there.
Oh, I see.
We redid it. Sorry.
So it makes more sense to call it just connection. You just feel like everybody's connected in the established church. So then you go into a church plant and you can draw a crowd. That's not that hard, but drawing people into relationship, challenging. And if you have different scenarios, right? We were talking about people driving in, driving out into their cities or whatever it is. So you know what that's like. But that kind of flux in reaching people and bringing them in, especially as you get to know them as friends and you're connected and your heart is going into their heart and there's this connection, you experience it. Wait, where are they? They left, or they moved, or the opposite. I've never had relationships like this. This is fantastic. I get to be in this kind of relationship, and these people are amazing. So, but you can have both on any given day. And that, I think, is pretty normal, but it's also really challenging emotionally to connect truly with people and then often to be disconnected, maybe even in the same era. We had friends where they couldn't have been any closer. They were like family. And then to see that relationship change, go through some misunderstandings. We've all done that, right, in ministries. So, but I guess it's good to know, that isn't always our fault. Sometimes it is, but it is just the nature of putting that many people into close relationship and trying to figure out a path that is peaceful and positive. So that's it.
That's good.
Oh, this is my favorite one.
You
get you.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's your favorite one, but I can do it?
Yeah.
Okay. We called it the praise criticism roller coaster, but we've changed it to the opinion roller coaster. Call it whatever you want. It's dealer's choice. All right. So Dave, we need to talk. Can we get together? Because I just need to talk. Oh, crap. Here it comes. How's that? Is that good? Okay.
Start rubbing his head.
Yeah, start rubbing my head. The opinion roller coaster, there it is, right? People, they'll love you, they'll love what's going on, and we just encouraged to hear it. But on the other side, they're not going to always love you and love what's going on, and we're not always so encouraged to hear that. And that's hard. And back to the connection piece, when these turn out to be your close friends or who were your close friends, and now they're in another leadership position, now you've got that dynamic going on. You don't know who's coming at you and what agenda they're bringing. Is this friend? Is this church leader? And the opinion piece can change, and it gets really complicated. I'm just talking about ministry here, right? Not even church planting, right? We depressing everybody? Are y'all thoroughly depressed?
Well, the roller coaster for me is that one, in the morning you can have somebody saying, "You have saved my life. If I hadn't come to this church," and you're thinking, "Oh, wow, God used us. This is, and then you can meet with somebody in the afternoon saying, "You've destroyed my life, and I can't believe that you're a leader." So hard to keep your balance sometimes. So it's not just one or the other. It's just that it can be a flux.
Yeah.
And that's ministry, I think, in general. Maybe that's just life in general. But
yeah, so that can go up and down. I don't know how much this relates, but I'll just say it anyway because, it's after 5 o'clock. A friend and mentor of ours would say to us way back when at our greenhouse church, the way they come in is the way they go out. So when they come into your church and they're talking about, we used to be at Joe Schmo's church down the street, and Joe is really a schmo, and we just, their worship, whatever, is just terrible, and you guys are great. Man, I just love it when you do it, and they're your best buddy, and you're kind of digging that for a minute. But just wait. Because whatever they're coming in saying about Joe Schmo, guess what? You're the next Schmo. And when they leave, they're going to be talking about you the same way they're saying that to somebody else. So we would stand at the front and we would work hard to sniff people out. And I would say early on, and this is where your intuition, you got to listen to it. God has made you the key leader of the church, and the Spirit is at work in your life, and you got to listen to it. You got to protect him. So I would literally say to many people, you know what? There are many fine churches in the Temecula Valley, and I think you might be a better fit in another place, because I would. And you know what? It's my job. What does a
shepherd too. Yeah.
What does a wolf in sheep's clothing look like?
A sheep.
What do they smell like?
Well,
you got to sniff, because they smell like something else, and so you've got to be able to say that. And to be able to, this is getting back to that whole thing of the praise, criticism, and everything else, and their opinions. That's a tricky deal, but you got to kind of be able to figure out where they're coming from. And the Lord will, not the Lord, the enemy. I'm sorry, Lord. The enemy will cut. Church plants don't fall apart for lack of mission. They fall apart because people on the inside, they implode. They don't explode most of the time, and it's this kind of stuff. So we've got to be so careful in who we bring into that circle. And if they're praising you too much, be suspicious. And then get some friends out that you trust and that you know. By the way, as you're bringing up leaders, the same deal. You got to give them time. If you adopt church planters in and you haven't done a background on them for a few years, you might be really surprised a few years in. You know what I'm saying? I'm going too long. Okay, so now it's time for me to shut up. So, did we say everything on that? Okay, I'll go to the next one.
Yes, personal experience.
It's a big but.
There are, this church over here does a great job.
Did I say it that nicely? Because I wasn't thinking it that nicely. Okay.